The time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone, and we are your guides on your journey into the heart of the primordial.
Welcome to Season 9, Episode 3. I can't believe it's this one, but get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God, these titles are getting funnier and funnier.
Yeah,
So get the fuck out of here. That's probably not meaning stop listening right now, though.
no. So, yeah, because that sentence has a lot of meanings, can be taken a lot of ways. Just like
Yeah.
you ain't shit could have been taken a lot of ways. So, can get the fuck out of here.
Well, my first thought is get the fuck out of here. That's like, you're kidding me.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look at Season 9, the whole point of Season 9 is to turn everything on its head. This is like prime destruction time. The way you're looking at the world is probably going to be turned upside down after this season.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in rotation now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty wild out there. Yep. I have
There's
to
no
say
proving it
though,
be. Yeah, go ahead.
good move is to really limit how much news you're getting.
Oh, good idea.
I limit it quite a bit, and what I'm finding is the stuff people have been freaking out about. 2 days later, it's all changed,
Mm.
and so what you were freaking out about then is completely different now. So you could have saved yourself a lot of hassle by just skipping a couple of days. I mean, that's not going to work for everybody, but seriously, it's working for me. I'm just like, oh, there was a ceasefire, was there? And then there wasn't. And then oh, right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I catch up in a couple of minutes on the
Yeah.
insanity that is out there. I see no benefit to following it all the time.
Well, and it's stuff you can take in chunks. Like you don't need it every day at this
No,
point.
you do not. You do not. I'd rather focus on magical practice and
Mm.
on what I'm here to do. And a big part of what I love to do is podcasting, obviously.
Right.
Like I'm here. But it's podcast summit, like it's getting the conversations out there for people to hear, consider, maybe join in with, dispute, like whatever it
Right.
is, but moving something forward that's not just yelling. I was going to say yelling into the void, but we'll leave the void out of this. Not just yelling at each other, like every now and then I'll get comments on social media and
Mm.
they're so rude. And I look at them and
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you? What was that? Like, why would you even think to say that stuff to somebody you didn't even look at my profile, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't even know me enough to have read my profile, let alone anything else. And, there's accusations, there's slurs and all
Yeah.
kinds of things. And it's just, that's what we live in right now. Well, it's bullshit. Like,
Yes.
no, you can't. That's not an interaction. I don't know. It's like random fire.
Right.
It's not how humans converse. This is like the lowest level of functioning is what's
Yes.
going on right now. And I'm not here for it. I want these conversations that actually make a difference and that, get people thinking.
Right.
I may be a little distracted today, folks, because
Yes. Dogs in the back.
I have the six dogs here in my charge, and they're feisty little bunch. So anyway,
Yes. But
we'll see how that goes.
speaking of magical stuff being in it, so I'll say this: don't. I got to go to a funeral on Sunday or a wake, anyways. Yeah, Sunday. Anyway, and so typically, a lot of times when I have relatives who die, they'll eventually realize, oh, I can see them and I can hear them, and they'll come talk to me. And so, but I've been so busy in my magical stuff. When this one died, they came to see me, but there was so much flow around it, it was disrupting their ability to come to me. And like I could hear them, and I could. So it was like, okay, I'm like, sorry, dude. Like I want to talk to you, but it's like there's so
Wow.
much going on. There's so much flow going around.
Hmm. So are they still hanging out?
Uh, it's more of observing at a distance now.
Okay. Yeah, because people tend to think that, you know, Grandma Josephine's up there sitting on a cloud someplace watching over me and so on and so forth. And given the subject you just brought up, I got to say that's not my experience. And yeah, I said experience, but
Right,
when somebody has passed on, they've died,
right.
their spirit is typically, you can access them for
Hmm.
maybe 24 hours, maybe 3 days, something like that. But they're not hanging around watching over you, right? They're
Right.
on to the next thing. They're processing the life that they led on this planet and figuring out, okay, I got that, I didn't get that. What do I do next? Where am I going next? And you're on to the next thing,
Right.
as a famous football coach once said. It's on to Cincinnati. Like you're on to your next thing, and and that's okay, right? Like, it would be really weird if everybody that died hung around to talk to you for the next
Right.
30 years or whatever. Like, that isn't typically how it goes, to the best of my experience and understanding. I think some people may become guardians for you, like they may make
Hmm.
that their mission for a while, in which case, yes, they could be around, but it's not de facto. It's not like that's what happens next, which is why I asked you, are they still there? Because typically they're not around for long. They got other stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, it dawns on me. I think the title goes with the because we're going to talk about the dead for a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Because so this is my usual experience, right? Depending on how the person died, like
Could the person listening just note this is like a very chill Daniel saying,
yeah,
"This is my usual experience. I've had
right,
this a lot."
yeah,
And to the best of my knowledge, you have had this a lot.
I have. So the person who passed recently is my cousin's husband, like they're a generation older, kind of a thing, but still
Okay.
good. It's sad to see them go and stuff. But you're right. Like, so what my normal experience is like people who pass, they'll notice I can hear them and pay attention to them and stuff like that. So they'll come and chat for a bit. But a lot of times as well, and to my surprise, sometimes is like they'll notice and go, oh, okay. And I go, you want to talk? They're like, no, I'm too busy. All right. Most people who just died usually want some kind of anchoring, but whatever. You are free to do whatever you'd like. And a lot of it
Hmm.
is like depending how close they were to their family. This is not casting dispersions on anyone who doesn't get a haunting, quote unquote, right away. I say haunting in parenthesis, but so I've had people who've died who've like really wanted to just kind of be there for their family for a bit. The
Hmm.
family couldn't, and that's interesting because then it's like, oh, I've never been rebuffed by the dead before. Now it's not uncommon, but it's correct. But some people are like, I said it about my grandfather. My grandfather was like, he was trying to communicate, and when I came around, he was like, oh my God, okay, you're here, okay. I'm like,
Right. I Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on where you're at in your relationship.
right,
Like, have you resolved things, or is there
yes,
a lot of unresolved on your part or theirs? And if it's theirs, that they may have a little bit of time to spend with you as they're trying to resolve stuff before they
yeah,
move on. But this notion of, I know that, great grandma or whomever is watching over me and has done since I was two, or, maybe, but I wouldn't take it as read. Like, it's
right,
not, it's not a guarantee because they would have to have a really good reason to do that.
yes,
Um, and it's not always the case. And here's the thing. I can just hear people making it mean
mm,
something, right? Like,
right,
what do you mean? Of course they're watching over me, and close family and et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't really mean that at all. It's got nothing to do with anything
Right.
because when you're not in the physical form anymore, then what you need to do changes and your
Yes.
relationship with the people who are still here changes. So I would say, generally speaking, and again, unless that person's becoming a guardian of some sort,
Hmm.
they typically don't have much to do to hang around for. So time is different, right, in the
Yes.
spiritual realm than it is here. But uh, yeah, it's not a bad thing, right? Like it's a good thing
Yeah.
that they're here for a little bit and then it's like, okay, cool, I'm off and I got things to do.
Right.
Fare
Well, I
thee
mean,
well.
there's even another perspective to it too. It's like because sometimes people will ask me about it because it's one thing that's really known about me throughout my extended family is this kind of a thing. And sometimes people ask me, "Oh, that must be really nice," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, it is, right? Funerals aren't the same. That isn't the same for me as it is for other people, right?"
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
but one of the things it's still not the same. Like you still go through a mourning period because you're not having that connection, that same connection you had in material world. And
Right.
imagine it, like, because for the dead, it's like going to a party and everyone ignores you,
Right.
right? So as much as
Right.
they'll show up every once in a while, as long as they're still functioning around here in this plane. But before but it is frustrating for them because it's like there's no one to talk to unless there's other dead people there too, or someone can actually hear them.
Uh-huh.
And again, yeah, you got other stuff to do, right? So like kind of the same concept of so above, so below. If you're at a party and no one is listening to you, well, you go do other stuff, right?
Yeah, essentially. Hmm. But
So
I think the thing that's coming up for me a lot with this conversation is the need to sort of stress, and it's not a bad thing.
right.
Like it's not, it doesn't reflect badly on you who's still alive. It doesn't say anything about the relationship you had. It's simply that's how things move.
Yeah.
That's you get into the spiritual realm and yeah, you're on to the next thing. You got stuff to do. You've got some sorting to do. Like
Mhm.
visualize going to a big library, the Akashic Records, right?
Mhm.
And you've got your team of helpers there, and they're saying, okay, well, this is what you went to do. Let's have a look and see how far you got. Like, what did you do? And how does it compare to the list that you had when you went there? And so you're figuring out, well, what did I learn? Where did I put it? What did I do with it? What do I bring now back to the Akashic records? And you've got stuff to do. So hanging around to just stare at somebody every day to see how they're doing
Right.
doesn't seem to quite match up.
Right. Like, and that's, I think, yeah, what people have to realize. It's like if you didn't hang out with your grandmother, if you only hang out with your grandmother once every 6 months, life goes on. There's no like you have your rhythm. In fact, I tell people like that's how I grieve. Actually, I may not grieve immediately at the time of the death because it's more of a crisis moment. So then I go into crisis mode. But when it's the time that I would normally hang out with them, that's when it really hits me, and then that's when I really grieve.
Yes. Yeah. I
So,
mean, for me, it's the year of firsts, right?
right.
The first time something is usually happens and now it doesn't. And
Right.
and the firsts, that's when you really notice it. You notice
Hmm.
the absence of the
Yes,
person. But and that's perfectly normal and healthy and what have you. And no, we're not in the business of telling anybody how to grieve.
that's right. Do
There,
what you need
there's
to do.
no point in saying that because it depends. It depends on how you view death, how you view life, how you view the relative, how you view
Right.
your relationship to them, where there's guilt attached and where there isn't, because that screws up a lot of deaths, can I just say.
Mm.
As working as a nurse, I've seen a number of people die, and the families, so much depends on whether they feel guilty about not being there for the relative, feel guilty because they had a bad relationship or whatever
Right.
it is. Woof, that screws it up for everybody. Like that just it's not a peaceful passing at all for the poor person who's trying to transition here. because they're getting all this guilt sort of thrown at
Mm,
them at the last minute. And it's like throwing weights on somebody who's trying to swim. It's
right.
like, yeah, that it's not their baggage, it's yours now. And please don't do that. But I've seen it so many times in hospital settings, so many times. And I've witnessed it personally as well, where I've seen other people like bringing their bags to the table, and it makes it a more difficult process for everybody. But, you know,
Right.
it's an observation.
Yeah. I was almost about to say, okay, and we're done with that. But it'd be like, wow, we just started something, and it's like, okay, done. We're good. No, yeah, your
Yeah.
relationship
Well,
with the dead is the same thing as your relationship with them in life when they were alive. Like, if
mhm.
you may feel obligated because you're family and you're supposed to feel a certain way, but
Ah.
instead of anchoring them down with your feelings of guilt, like let them go. Not out of meanness, right? Out of, but like, don't don't force them to haunt you.
Well, yeah, you're putting your agenda
Right,
onto a person who has no self-defense against your agenda at that point,
right,
right? And we human beings are fantastic at convincing ourselves of everything and anything. I mean,
right.
as a nurse, I could tell you this. We would have, you've got this little old lady quite often is
Mm,
in the hospital bed and they don't have long. And relatives who haven't seen said little old lady in
mm,
like 20 years, 30 years, we hear that they're coming in. And the nurses would all be like,
mm,
oh boy, here we go. Brace yourselves. And the
mm,
relatives would come in and they would almost invariably, occasionally you'd be pleasantly surprised, but they would usually start yelling at the nurses and saying, "You're rubbish, you're doing this and
mm,
you're doing that, and you're not doing this, and you should be
mm,
doing that." And the level of yelling and sometimes violence that you would get from these families would be proportionate to how guilty they felt about
right,
how they treated the person in the bed. And
right.
so they're showing their care by being obnoxious to the people who are doing the caring.
Yes.
And I saw that far more times than not. I mean, we would literally brace ourselves. Sometimes, if it had been a rough patch, there'd been
Right,
something going around and we'd lost a bunch of people, we'd be like taking it in turns. Okay, who gets to deal with the family this time?
right.
Because it was so hard on the staff, and you're trying to shelter the person in the bed a little bit too, because they're aware. Your last
Mm,
sense to go is your hearing.
right.
So unless they are entirely riddled with dementia, they are aware of what's going on. And now their family, who they haven't seen for the longest time, come in and behave really, really badly. So, is that person gonna hang around and haunt you for a couple of days? Maybe, but you might
Mm,
not want them to. You know,
yeah.
that's so people really put their agendas on and
Right.
they think they're being subtle, like they think you can't tell what they're doing, but it's so predictable. It's sad, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that is it for that subject.
Aha, on to other subjects.
All right.
Cincinnati's going to come up a lot today, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's saying on to Cincinnati. Anyway,
Yes. Yes.
yes,
So that was the first part of get the fuck out of here. As in people going, as if that's true, as if that's a thing. This episode's going to
right.
probably need a lot of processing time.
Well, yeah, maybe it's.
Yeah. What else are people not going to believe? What else is going to make them say, get the fuck out of here? I mean, I just came off of, well, damn near 3 hours of on and off dreaming slash astral projection.
Mhm.
That was weird. And you know what? I woke up from it. I got up from it, and I still don't know what the hell that was all about.
Yeah, those are very discombobulating, those kind of events.
It was
I, I
happening,
don't
and
ty- I don't typically like to do much after that,
no,
so I'm impressed that you're doing the
yeah.
podcast recording now.
I was like, when it was happening, I was like trying to keep track of it. I was like, okay, this is happening. This is happening. Okay, what else? Okay, there's this. I don't understand what any of this is, but okay, if I keep at least the elements in my mind, I can figure it out. That's like,
Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Uh-huh.
yeah, I have certain highlights of it. I know one of the ones before I woke up, one of the elements was I was talking with a younger guy, and I, he was completely surprised that sometimes celebrities and Instagram people and people on social media were like cultivated or specifically chosen to give this information and used to manipulate situations. So that was part of it. And there was something about doing something on a cosmic level. It all linked from those two, like between from doing something on a cosmic level to helping people understand that deception comes in people have always been using this popularity and people who are popular for deception to manipulate a situation or to at least control the narrative.
Hmm. Why does Deepak Chopra come to mind again, I wonder? He's not the
Mm.
only guru that's
Yeah.
falling, but it's for some reason I find him particularly egregious.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day where a bookstore was tearing up his books and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, yep, and getting very upset about it all. And I just sent them a message saying, he doesn't care because you've already paid for the books.
Yeah.
Why don't you send them back to the publisher with a note
Right.
saying why you're sending them back?
Yes.
Because he won't care. He doesn't care anyway, clearly, otherwise he wouldn't be doing the things he's doing and he wouldn't have done the things he did. So he doesn't give a rat's ass, but the publisher will,
Right.
you
And
know?
that's the thing,
So
right?
aligned action, if you're going to do something, make it make sense for crying out loud.
Yes. And I think that's a big part right now. So last episode, right? Love is the destroyer, right?
Hmm.
And it was something completely not expected, but the whole idea is that love is the antithesis of what's going on. So love is, of course, the destroyer of what's going on if you choose to fight it, right? And this is the same thing, right? What we're essentially running into is nobody cares because you've already purchased the reseller has already purchased the product.
Right.
So the company, the writers, whatever, all those people, they're covered already. Like the people have been compensated, and it's the seller who's in trouble. The person who
Right.
would be your ally, but they also have the ability to return those books unsold.
Yes, and the thing is, that's going to make more of an impact to a publisher,
Right.
particularly if you buy a lot of books of that particular author, then sending them back and explaining why, and then refusing to place more orders.
Right.
That's going to be far more impactful. This book burning is
Right.
symbolic, yes, but kind of pointless, honestly.
Right.
The authors really aren't affected by that because it's paid for and you can't possibly return it. So that if you read it or you don't read it, it makes no difference to the author. And somebody like Deepak Chopra, who puts out, millions and
Mm.
millions of books in several different languages, is he going to notice one bookstore that says, "Hey, we're mad at you, and here you go, we're going to tear up your books"? No, he probably doesn't even know they did it.
Right.
But the publisher, if more and more bookstores start sending stuff back with
Yeah.
notes saying, "Hey, this guy's a rampant pedophile and we're not okay with it," um, they will pay attention. The publishers will notice. And that may make a difference to him in the end because it'll hit him in his wallet,
Right.
which is really the only thing most of the people in charge right now understand.
Right. So the second get fuck out of here is that you have to learn to discern between people who are making noise and people who are actually effective.
Yes, and whether what you want to do is effective
Right.
or performative.
Right.
And that's, be real. And if it's performative and that's what you want it to be, then that's okay. Then you're nailing it, right?
Hmm.
But if you want it to be effective, really consider, is the action you're taking going to make any kind of difference anywhere? Or is it just, I'm mad and this is my version of
Right.
stomping a foot?
Yes.
Whenever a movie star or a musician falls out of favor because they've said something that annoys a large group of people,
Hmm.
seems to happen a lot these days. You got books, you get music albums if people have still got them getting
Right.
broken, and there's a big hoo-ha. Here go all my Pink Floyd t-shirts, etc. And again, they don't care, man. You already bought them. What difference does it
Yeah.
make? They're
Yeah,
completely untouched by this drama. So are you
right,
doing it for a TikTok video or are you doing it, are you looking for something that's meaningful? And if you're looking for something that's meaningful, you might want to check out some magical practice here because you got more chance of making a difference there.
right.
Burning stuff, getting rid of stuff, throwing it away. Okay, never mind. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's really superficial. It's not going to get very far.
right. And I was gonna say, like, especially on the topic of like book burning and records and stuff like that. Like, we live in a day and age where you can just get a digital copy, or like, this is not like where there was like, 50 monks in a room writing it out at candlelight by hand. So if you burnt it, it was gone. No, no, this is like we can make 1,000 copies tomorrow. Like,
Yeah. No, it makes no odds, particularly when it doesn't affect that person
right.
financially, right? And even now, cancel culture, I mentioned
Mm,
this a couple of seasons ago, I think.
right.
I intensely dislike cancel culture. I think it's a low-level approach, again, to exacting revenge on somebody, whether or not they warrant it. And I don't know if you can hear that squeaking, but that's one of the dogs.
No.
Anyway, oh, good. But people are having a go at canceling J.K. Rowling, for
Mm,
example, because of her anti-trans stance. Has anybody been effective yet?
no.
Did that work? Has she altered her way of thinking? Is she doing anything different? Uh, are her books still being made into movies?
Yeah. TV series.
None of it
Yeah.
has affected her one iota. It's made her more determined
Hmm.
to follow her stance.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say, because to borrow from some YouTubers, the Democratic Party was looking for, we need a Joe Rogan on the left. And the answer usually to that one is, you had a Joe Rogan on the left. It was Joe Rogan.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize he'd been on the left.
He
But
was. He had backed Bernie Sanders. He
all
pushed a
right.
lot of left policies. But with like a lot of people who have shifted over to the right, what happens is the people who were on the left were doing purity tests, and they
Right.
didn't say what people wanted to hear, so they got pushed over into the right. Now, mind you, don't get me wrong. Like me, when I see someone say, "Oh, I left the left," I'm like, "Why would you leave aside your political beliefs when you don't like the party? Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you totally getting rid of your political philosophies because you didn't like what people who share your political philosophies did? That makes no sense. Where's your what's that word? Where's
In-
your virtues,
Integrity?
your integrity?
Uh,
Yeah, it's like you don't leave
Integrity,
because you don't like what's
values,
happening. You fix it.
principles, all those
Yes.
kind of words come up. Yeah, I mean, it can be awfully hard when the people who represent the group that you're most aligned with
Right.
just don't speak for you. That's hard. I mean, I'm in that position.
Yeah.
I have that right now, and
Mm.
I put that opinion out there every now and then, and it bothers people a huge amount
Mm.
because I question, like, I'm very much pro the existence of Israel.
Mm.
Israel has to exist, of course it does. It's a teeny tiny country, and it's the only place where Jews can be without suffering all kinds of anti-Semitic attacks, and nobody says a word. Now, right now, they're having problems there too. And yes, they're giving other people problems. But notice the rhetoric around it. It's all Israel's terrible. They did this, they did that. Nobody comments one iota when something happens to Israel or to Jews in other countries. So the left, the Democratic
Mm.
Party, are hideously anti-Semitic. And they're getting more and more obvious with it. Why? Because Trump is visibly at least, on the side of Israel. I trust it not at all.
I was
But
gonna say, yeah.
oh no, I mean, obviously it's an agenda, it's not a real
Right.
thing. But because of that agenda, the left are going for the throat all the time. And it's like, I don't know, man, how is that okay? Like, I can't be
No.
okay with this central part of your philosophy right now.
Right.
But I cannot also switch to being MAGA inclined, like
Right.
because I haven't lost my brain and I haven't lost my sensibilities. So it's difficult, but I mean, you got to realize that this means there's a new path to be forged, just like there is everywhere. The
Right.
gurus are falling, and so it's time. And what that means is it's time for self-leadership. It's time to decide for yourself what you're doing. Stop relying on other people, right? Like, don't follow the crowd. In fact, please, for God's sakes, don't follow the crowd.
Yeah.
The goddess pleads with you, do not follow the crowd because the
Yes.
crowd are dumb as pig shit and they're going in the wrong direction. All of them. Pick a crowd. They're all going in the wrong
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
So it's time to not do that. We have to find our own practices. We have to find our own way. And I read something today about a lone witch, and
Right.
if you can't be a lone witch, notice I'm not saying you have to be one, but if you
Right.
cannot be one, if you cannot do it on your
Right.
own, then where are you? Like, what are
Yes.
you bringing forward? So, for the listener, Danielle, you have your own
Mm.
practice, you do your own thing.
Yeah.
I have my own practice, I do my own thing. And sometimes what we do kind of coincides, or it may even happen at the same time, but it's definitely a different practice. And that's because you have what works for you, and I
Hmm.
couldn't do it the way you do it.
Right.
And I think vice versa, right? Like I have the way I do it, and that's not going to work for you. So
Right.
the dogs are providing background.
Yes. That one
If
I
you,
actually heard, but
okay, that's the old blind dog who has no patience whatsoever.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I was going to say was I was going to use J.K. Rowling as an example because so J.K. Rowling's she didn't start this as being anti-trans. She started it, and her comments came from because she was pro-woman,
Right.
and she felt women's rights and spaces were going to be trampled on. So that's why she made her comment. That's what I can get from the comments. Now,
Uh-huh.
much like a lot of people moving from the left to the right, it's because, listen, she had a reasonable argument to make. Now, a reasonable person who didn't agree with her would have said, okay, listen, I see what you're trying to do. You want to protect women's spaces and women's rights. Did people do that? No, not from what I could tell. They jumped on her and
Right.
attacked
No.
her instead of, this is a
Well,
person you could have had a reasonable conversation with.
they went straight for cancel culture.
Yeah.
And everything that she had done, all the entertainment she's provided for kids and adults alike, all over the place, the money she's raked in for,
Mm-hmm.
is it Universal Studios where they
Yeah.
have the Hogwarts stuff? Money making for so many
Right.
people, including herself. But, she's she's done lots. The actors that she gave
Yeah.
a start to, who wouldn't be where they are without her, they all turned around and went straight
Mm-hmm.
for the throat and straight for the cancel culture. Well, I am not even remotely anti-trans. I am absolutely
Mm.
pro-life for trans people as much as
Right.
anybody else. They have the same rights, or they should have.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And a conversation with J.K. Rowling might have been more interesting instead of pushing her into more and more extreme
Right.
behavior, right? And it can do that to you. You get kind of pissy about people just giving you a hard time all the time. You're like, well, okay, if you're
Yeah.
gonna if you're gonna call me a demon, let me grow the horns,
Yes.
right? Lilith did.
Right.
Demonized Lilith. Okay, fine. Check out these horns.
Yeah.
Watch me go.
And
And you do.
that's what happened to a lot of people who have shifted right. It was that's what happened. They had a reasonable question. They had a reasonable bone to pick. And instead of people saying down them going, okay, well here, let's try this. They didn't.
Hmm.
They jumped on them, they pushed them, they booed them, they did whatever, and then they went, well, you know what? See ya.
Screw
Now, like
you,
I
off
said,
I
right?
go.
I don't agree with getting rid of your political philosophies and joining the people who are, antithetic, what joining the other side, quote unquote. Part of this conversation I don't like because it's the wording, right? Because I don't believe in dividing us like that. But basically, your philosophical opposites, you're now join them for some reason, and I don't know why you would do that. You just don't
Well,
want to
the
be picked
problem
on,
is,
okay? But they'll pick on you the minute. those disagreements show up again.
Well, the problem is it's all divisive,
Right.
right? Pick a party, they're being divisive, both sides.
Yeah.
Um, if you disagree with somebody these days, it's you can't disagree without being in a world of trouble, right? And people hurl abuse at you and all kinds of things. And it's like, but you didn't ask me to clarify or
Right.
sort of tell me what you thought. You just tell me I'm a blithering idiot or something along
Hmm.
those lines. But that didn't further the conversation in any way, shape, or form. I am not convinced to think differently. You have done nothing to enrich the world by, hurling abuse at someone who said
Right.
something you didn't like.
Yeah.
Oops, there's Grandma going again. Johnny.
Yeah.
She's joining the podcast today.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear her again?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because the baby is making. Do you want to?
Yeah. All right. We're back.
That interruption was brought to you by a gaggle of dogs.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Like, I mean, you have to put aside the ones who are paid to be agitators, of course, right?
And people forget that that is a fact.
Yeah.
And there are bots. I mean, if you look on
Hmm.
Threads, oh my Lord, Threads is full of bots.
Right. But you look at the ones who are genuinely switching sides, they could have been kept on the side just if someone had treated them with something vaguely resembling dignity and respect versus just
Mhm.
attacking them to get virtue points.
Yes. And the thing is, if you're somebody who needs to yell loudly about your stance and
Mm,
can't stand any kind of argument without getting
mm,
extremely angry about it, then that is a clue that you don't hold that position firmly. It's
right,
not it's not truly yours. It's one that you've jumped on. You're borrowing it, you're claiming it, but it's not actually fitting you properly.
right,
And so you have to yell louder and get in somebody's face because if they don't agree with you, you got to question, or maybe it feels like you got to question your stance, right?
right.
If you know you're right, if you really, really know you're right, you don't have to convince anybody else.
Yeah. Well, you know what I was going to say, right? One of the things that confused me in the J.K. Rowling thing was Emma Watson. Emma Watson, who went to the UN and made all these speeches about feminism and stuff. You'd have thought she would at least would have been the voice of reason in the room, talking to J.K. Rowling instead of just turning on her.
Yeah, again, that whole thing is
Yeah.
dependent on what metric they were using, you
Yes.
know. Will my fans be mad at me if I
Hmm.
don't say something? Who are my fans?
Right.
Like Lady Gaga, for example. Now, I have no idea if she's ever
Mm,
even commented on J.K. Rowling. I have
right.
no idea. But if she did, she would kind of have to be against
Right.
J.K. Rowling
Yes.
because most of her following is
Hmm.
gay, trans. Like she has a very
Yes.
particular group of people who adore her to the ends of the earth. Like I've seen Lady Gaga in concert and
Mm,
I've seen the people who are there. And my God, they absolutely worship the ground she
hmm.
walks on. And a great many are gay or trans.
Yes.
So if she were to make a comment, I would be stunned if it was anything less than heavily anti J.K. Rowling, right? Like
Right.
she would have to,
Hmm.
because her following probably would not be able to hold the idea that she could be very, very fond of her following and want to have a reasonable conversation with somebody who
Right.
disagrees,
Hmm.
right? And we're not in that space in society now. it's it's so difficult to navigate because everybody says Bandy's about be authentic, be who
Right.
you are, be unapologetic, one of my favorite words, right? But
Mm.
yeah, except it works until you disagree with them and then they don't like it. So
Right.
how do you navigate that? And for the listener, I was in a room recently where I was talking to a whole bunch of podcast hosts, and it was very cool. But before going into that room virtually, right, a group of us, there was 11 of us practicing what we were going to say so that you could get it down in a couple of minutes and it would be what you wanted it to be. It would represent you. And I got pushback before I went in because I used the word witch. And I was getting some sort of tentative, oh, do you think you could just say women? Or do you think you could? And the tendency from the people around me, one or two were like, yeah, let's go for it. But mostly I was getting, ooh, I'm not sure how that's going to go. Ooh, I don't think you should say that. And there was a lot of pushback. So do I go with the pushback or not? And happily I decided, screw that, I'm talking about witches. And so I did. And it went very well for me. But that was the point.
Right.
That was a space where I had to navigate. Do I do what I'm being told is the popular thing to do right now? Or do I hang on to where I'm at and like put it out there anyway, regardless of pressure? And that's, I think, what makes it so difficult for people to choose their own pathways right now. And it's also why it's so important to choose your own pathway. Because if you
Yeah,
make the same sounds as everybody else, nobody's going to hear your voice distinctly.
that's right. That's why you have people who rebel on purpose, just because you're so-called rebels without a clue, or rebels without a cause. Sorry, rebels
Oh no,
without
I
a
like
clue is a
Rebels Without a
parody on
Clue.
that.
I think that's Rebels Without a Clue is pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you want to be authentic, then you got to be prepared to get pushback and to have people tell you you're wrong, bad idea, who are you to do that, etc., etc.
Right.
And that's you're going to wear that walking into a magical practice. Like if you're practicing witchcraft in any way, shape, or form,
Mm.
working with spirits, like however you want to title it for yourself, if that's what you want to do, you are understand you're going to get an awful lot of pushback from a lot of places. People aren't going to be comfortable with it. It's going to make them nervous, and they're going to make a lot of assumptions about you
Hmm.
without ever asking.
Yep.
They will not look to clarify. They'll just assume. Actually, I'm not quite sure what they all assumed, but it was kind of interesting to see the reactions. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, who is she? What's she saying?
It is weird. Like, at me, the stigma on witches still confuses me. Like, well, I've been in this world since, well, forever. And, so I've lived in the nuance of things, and I never think about it. Like, I don't think about witches by default as terrible or as evil or cackling or green skinned or, like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I've been so far removed from that world for so long and never really truly been in it that it's like, why are people like this? But it's like, but I haven't been in that world like really for any length of period of time, other than watching cartoons and Chris and Halloween stuff, whatever, But that's it. It's like that's my only real exposure to that kind of stuff. Everything
But
else,
basically,
yeah,
that's what informs people.
right.
You've just nailed it, actually. It's the children's stories.
Hmm.
It's the Disney version.
Right.
It's, the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz. Tell me, when you think about Wizard of Oz, who was actually the wicked one there?
Well,
It
aside
was
from the
the
plays,
wizard. It was
yeah,
the wizard who was controlling everybody and pretending to have all this big power, while actually it was smoke and mirrors, right?
you
So
know what
who
though?
was the bad person?
I'm going to throw out an observation someone had made because it plays over. I see a clip of it every once in a while where, alrighty, okay, so I'm going to offer up Glinda as the bad guy. And
Aha!
I'm going to cite this particular moment when she asks Dorothy, "Are you a good witch or a bad witch?" You know, and then she cites that bad witches are ugly. Now, there's a lot of people online who have kind of made their own mix of that one, where Dorothy's like, "What? So you think I'm ugly? You can't tell, you know, if I'm ugly or not?"
There's a lot of issues with it, right? If
Yeah.
you think of the original version,
Hmm. I've never read the book, so I don't know.
so
So I've seen the
the
movie,
original version,
right? Good.
a witch gets killed,
Yes.
and everybody says, "Oh, well, that was a bad person,"
Right.
but there's no
Yeah.
evidence, right? There's no zero evidence,
Hmm.
and then this other one arrives and says, "Well, I'm a good witch. You can trust me."
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say compare that to society at the moment
Hmm.
and the people in charge who say you can trust me, particularly when it comes to spiritual gurus.
Right.
And I'm the good witch, I'm the good person, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm the one who knows how to do all the things, et cetera, et cetera. I'm totally thinking of Deepak Chopra again. But
Right.
you know, look at those people. Is it Really? Are you going to
Hmm.
believe the person who says, yo, I'm a good witch,
Right.
right? Like with zero evidence,
Yeah.
no corroboration whatsoever, and the person just says it's so okay because they're wearing pink? Like,
Yeah.
really?
Well, that's the
That's
thing,
it?
right?
That's going to do it for you?
Yeah, because if you look at the movie, right? So Dorothy could have left at any time. In fact, right from the beginning of the thing, Glenda could have just said to her, "Knock your heels together," and said, "There's no place like home," and you're gone.
Uh-huh.
Now, think about this, right? Because Wicked kind of brings this perspective to it, and I don't think it's wrong because if you look at the original movie, you know, Dorothy could have given the shoes to the Wicked Witch. It was her sister's shoes after all.
Right?
So they were hers. They would have, if you look at the right of like people dying and stuff like that, property dispersion, they were hers. They were literally her shoes because that was her next of kin. Like she was the only family left. So those would have transferred to her. So everything was really the witch was always in the right for this whole thing. Her methods may have been a bit more, unsavory, but she was in the right. And it was Glenda who wasn't in the right, and Glenda who used deception to get what she wanted, or what her and the wizard wanted, whoever you want to look at motivation behind that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a lot there that I think is taken at surface
Yes.
value and barely so. Like you got to skip over that surface in order to leave it intact, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't take much thinking to see, wait a minute, who's the good person here? And why did that person deserve to die? You're
Right.
celebrating because a house fell on somebody. Like there are some big issues here. And
Yeah.
so many places where we have that, and you're supposed to go with the idea that the person you're told is good, right?
Right.
I have a big issue with a lot of the fairy stories when it comes to how women are treated too.
Mm.
Like you're fast asleep, maybe you're under a magic spell or whatever, maybe you're
Right.
astral traveling, but you're
Mm.
fast asleep and some dude comes up and starts manhandling you, and he's suddenly Prince Charming and everything's wonderful. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Where was the consent? Right? Like you're taught from the get-go as a girl that you don't have to give your consent. It's okay so long as he's good looking or so long as other people say it's
Mm.
okay. Like there's so much wrong with what we've taken as the basis for our understanding because when you're a kid, the stories you're told, whether it's from people around you or whether it's through fairy stories and what have you, those stories all help you make sense of the world.
Right.
So when they are faulty like that, you can't make very good sense of anything. And that's, I think, why we have so many people now who can't have a conversation that
Right.
makes them uncomfortable or that says, well, I don't actually agree with that. I think differently. And then respond with, oh, tell me. Like what does that mean? What does it look like for you?
Well, that's
Because
the
what
thing.
what happens if your belief, the one you've latched onto, what happens if you get shaken in that? Eek! What are you gonna do?
Right. Because it's like I mean, with fairy tales too, you have to look at it, right? Because the ones that we know, at least in the West, the most, are the ones that have been translated by the Brothers Grimm from their original meanings, and then were given a specific meaning by the Brothers Grimm. And those were to tell stories, to entertain, to sell books, versus their actual folklore, what they were doing, their purpose in folklore. So, I mean, but my main issue with a lot of stories I heard growing up, like stuff like that, was like no one thinks anything of taking stuff away from the person they deem as bad,
Without cause or
right? Without cause. On top of that,
without proven cause,
yeah,
right? Like that's the thing. It's like cancel culture.
mm-hmm.
That happens without anything being proven. Johnny Depp was
Mm,
cancelled in the biggest way when he was accused of domestic violence. But actually, he was the victim of domestic violence. But his career has not properly recovered from that, and
right,
neither has he,
yeah,
because he was cancelled, he was abused, he was, accused of all kinds of things. All of this with zero evidence, right? That's what I dislike so intensely about cancel culture is a few people who decide that they want to make it big can, and somebody will suffer at the end of that, and they're like the witch with the house falling on top of them.
right,
Everybody says, yeah, yeah, serves you right, and they have no idea if it does or not. And then you
yeah,
move on to the next thing, right? So the big focus here, I think, is don't do that. Don't be one of those people. Like, question it.
right,
Question. Why did the house fall on that person and why are you happy about it? Like, I'm
right,
concerned about somebody that's happy about that.
yeah. And just to add further to it, so I didn't know much about the stories of the Wizard of Oz, except for I saw the movie there with Judy Garland and all that. But so the Wicked Witch of the East had no hands, so she was also a disabled person on top of that.
Right. And a disabled person is to be feared
Right.
because, they don't look the same as you.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know that that's as big now as it was, but it used to be massive.
Right.
Like,
Well, now
really,
media has gone a long way to making that kind of stuff more acceptable,
it's helped. It's
or to help.
helped.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So I mean, there's that. But when you because like I said, I don't know a lot about it. But so that was her sister. Her sister had no hands. I don't remember why she was the Wicked Witch of the West or the East. What exactly made her that way? Like I don't know enough about it. But with the lead up to Wicked and Wicked for Good, whatever, there was a lot of people doing videos on the actual stories and making comparisons, right? Because people want to complain. But I learned stuff from it. So yeah, I didn't. I knew nothing about the Witch of the East. I didn't care because I was a kid when I watched it, and then that kind of just stayed in the background for me. But then to find out the history of what she was a bit like, anyways, it was interesting. But yeah, like you find a lot of people are vilified because they're not the in group; they're the other,
yes,
and that's it.
yes.
And by virtue of being the other, they're naturally not as virtuous. They're naturally not as good. They're naturally not, as awesome,
Yep.
and deserve to be had their stuff stolen and their lands taken. And
And that's my point for
yeah,
somebody who's entering into witchcraft or is already walking that path is you are going to be the one that's othered in a lot of
right,
spaces, right? There are places where you can go, yes, where you're not othered, but generally speaking, that's just going to be a thing.
right,
And you need to be sure of who you are and sure of your foundation, as we've mentioned so many times now, but it does seem to be
yes.
important. You got to know what are your opinions, what are your ideas, what do you value, and is it truly what you're doing right now? Those are some big questions.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember where we were. We just paused for some more dog stuff, but now I don't remember where we were.
Yeah, probably time to move on to a different topic.
Yep.
We were looking at being hoodwinked by people
Yes.
just just because they say so,
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah. And people being othering and that being enough for people to do all
Yeah.
kinds of terrible stuff to them. But you're
Because
right.
if you say, well, I'm Catholic,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I know where to put that. If you
Hmm.
say I'm Jewish, oh, I know to throw rocks at you. If you say you're Muslim, oh, I'm going to be afraid of you.
Right.
But you know where to put the people, right? You say which?
Hmm.
Ooh. now everybody's going to be after you, right? Like you're wrong at everybody's space. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I suggest witchcraft not for the aesthetic, but for the practice, the
Yes.
work.
As fun as the aesthetic can be, do it for the work.
Hey, the aesthetic, if it helps you focus, go for
Yeah.
it. But it's a bit it's kind of like going goth, you're going
Mm,
to get criticism for it. Or punk back in the day in the UK where the real punk was happening. You
mm,
certainly got some stick for that.
yeah. There is, what do they call it now? There's pop punk.
There's the what?
Pop punk.
Oh my God.
Well, that's Green Day. That's White Stripes, I think. I don't know. I just remember Green Day, most My Chemical Romance, maybe.
Okay,
Which is
I
still a
just
whole
call
band
that
from like 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago.
I just call that pop.
Yeah.
But no, punk is Sex Pistols,
Yeah.
Buzzcocks, stuff like that. That's
Hmm.
punk. They are not to be confused.
Anarchy in the UK. But yeah. So I'm just trying to think what else is get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here. Yeah,
Get the fuck
I
out of here.
guess.
Yeah. Well, actually, you don't have to think about it. I'm sure it's coming. It's here for.
Well,
Okay,
what
something's
was what
right.
what was coming in for me was a
Mm,
lot of people are desperately looking for where to go to get out of where they
mm,
are,
yes.
right? And I'm not sure in every case that that's what you need to do. In some cases, yes. Like if you're a trans person and you're living in Ohio,
Mm.
get the hell out of there. Those people are nuts and they hate you.
Was it
Go
Minnesota or
somewhere.
Ohio? Or did Ohio do something too?
Oh, Ohio did
Oh,
something.
sorry, Minnesota.
Kentucky, um, Missouri, I think. There's
Yeah,
like there's a lot of states that are
yeah,
kicking in, but Ohio, yeah, you can't
yeah.
go to the bathroom.
Oh,
It's
okay.
pretty bad. Um, so if you're living in one of those lunatic states, then absolutely get yourself out of there and get to a safe one or find another place. But for
Mm,
other people, if you're wanting to run but somehow can't, then and I'm saying this from
mm,
experience, then maybe your quest, your position
mm,
is to stop trying to run and to actually look around and see, okay, I am here for a reason. What am I going to do about it? And it's again about the aligned action and figuring out
right.
what can I do? Some people, for the sake of continuing in their life, they need to go somewhere else.
Mm,
But if you are not one that has every reason to believe you're in big trouble, then maybe your opportunity is to actually look and see how you can affect things.
mm. Sorry, I'm just looking over your shoulder and I can't. And I don't know if who's the older dog again?
You can see a
Yeah,
rather overweight puggle who's
yeah. I don't know what she has in
yeah,
her mouth. I'm not sure if the other dogs are there. So
it's not a cat, it's a stuffy.
I was just wondering. I'm like, I didn't
This
quite
is
see what that was.
this is her version of I'm starving to death, but as you can
Oh,
see, she certainly is not.
no. Okay. I'm just curious to see it over her shoulder, and I didn't quite catch all of it. I just,
She she has the Elvis Presley thing where she's always hungry.
oh, oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah. So, grapes. Yeah.
You
So
derailed yourself.
I did. I did derail myself. Doesn't matter. It's always interesting to see what's going on in people's backgrounds.
Uh-huh. I don't use a virtual background,
Yeah.
so even in the summit that I did recently, I didn't use a
Mm,
virtual background. So you see whatever's going on behind me because
right.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So, yeah. So
Or
we
as
did the other.
somebody corrected me recently and said, "How about it is what is?"
It is what is.
Uh-huh. Instead of it is what it is. There's a subtle distinction there.
Well, I
It
was
might
gonna
take some
say,
pondering.
yeah, I was gonna say there is a difference in those two sentences, and it's not just missing
There
a
is.
word.
There is. So maybe the listener can also contemplate that. The difference between it is what it is, which is very
Hmm.
fatalistic,
Right.
or it is what is,
Yeah.
which is an acknowledgement that. this is the situation. It's
Mm.
different. There is nuance there.
There is. That's like this has been bugging me for a long time. The difference between transform. So I run into this, right? So my card deck has a card for alchemy. It has a card for transformation. It has a card for transmutation, and it has a card for transfiguration. And I'm like, what the hell's the difference
Ooh,
between those four words?
ooh. You know what? I'm going to invite the listener. Send us your response to that question.
Now, there is some subtle differences in these things.
There is, but I would love to know what people think. And don't Google it. That's boring. Don't Google it.
Mm,
Just what do you think?
yeah. Go with
Send
what you
it to
think
Danielle
first.
on Reddit or
Or
someplace,
yeah,
but like
yeah,
I'd love to know what people think of the difference in those.
right. In fact, I'm gonna take note of this and we'll talk about it next episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be really curious to know what people generally think of those. Or do you think it's interchangeable?
As metaphors, they're interchangeable, but they have very distinct differences in their meaning.
Hmm.
They're in the same
Yeah.
family of words, but they have distinct,
Well, there wouldn't be a need for different words if they
right?
didn't have different nuances or different directions to point in, but I'd still be really interested to hear what people think.
Yeah, it was bugging me for a while because I'd get like both at some of them at the same time, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I'd
Right?
read the definition in the book, but I don't usually read the definitions in the book. I haven't for a long time. I just look at whatever the picture and the wording clicks in me, right? Whatever the keyword set off. And so sometimes I'd get them and I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? Then I
Mm.
did kind of do a deep dive into the difference of the words and I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand. And the readings make more sense when I know now that I know the distinctions. I'm like, I see now
But
what they're trying to get me to do. Okay.
I think we should leave that one as a question, though. I love
Yeah,
that for a question.
me too.
And maybe we'll find out if somebody's listening long enough to want to answer.
Yeah. I do like
That would be
feedback. We
cool.
don't get very much. So I get it in person from people,
Uh-huh.
but I don't usually
No,
get
I
messages.
would love to get some feedback. Like
Yeah.
it's so nice to know because even if you don't like something or you got a problem with something, well, okay, let us know what it is. It may or may not get changed, but it would be received,
Yeah.
right? As interesting information.
Right.
Doesn't mean we're
Like,
going to do anything with it, but we
right.
might.
Like we've dropped stuff, but we're channeling. So there's things we could have covered on those things, but that's not what wanted to be covered. But still, for your own curiosity or even your own understanding of things, you might want to know more nuance on those topics.
Well, the other thing is if somebody gives us feedback or
Mm,
provides a question, then we may have another direction to go in, right?
yes.
It may spark a discussion that would be interesting. So, don't be shy. We'd love to
Right.
hear it.
And I suspect at some point, some future season is going to require feedback from people because it's going to want to be a more of a discussion with a greater audience.
Yeah, no, I would love that. I think that'd be very cool to have that interaction. That
Yeah,
would be
because I
nice.
mean, season 9 is definitely about, you know, flipping things over and making people think deeper about a topic,
Well,
especially ones
also,
that are
yeah, if people interact with us more, then
mm,
you're more likely to get the answer to whatever it is you're still waiting to hear.
right. Like you can do like
Because
my mom.
if you're
Yeah,
still listening to us, then chances are you're waiting to hear something.
right,
And what is that? What aspect have you not got yet? Can you articulate that, or do you not know?
right.
Right? Like we
Because I'm
won't
gonna
know if nobody says anything.
right. Like, my mom, she listens regularly, but what she does now is she waits, like if we're traveling somewhere, she waits for me to be around so she can listen to it and ask me questions while we're driving.
Which
We'll
I think is
pause the
very
episode and go,
smart.
what do you mean by that? What is that supposed to mean? And what if we go this way with it? And we have these conversations based around the episodes. But you guys
Uh-huh.
can't do that because you don't really know me that much. So and don't have access to me like that.
Well,
Mm.
sending some questions in would be a
But
very
yeah.
cool way of
So that's
interacting.
your right, that's your other option. So yeah, like I didn't change the name of the subreddit. It's still Think Like a Wizard. And it's always in the episode descriptions. It's there. If you wanted to start a chain or ask a question or whatever, it's there. message me or something. That's always an option. Plus well, I do leave a link now for if you wanted to book a time to talk with me too in Calendly.
Okay,
That's in the show notes now too. I was putting the
very
summit
good.
notes, but the summit link, but since that's already happened.
Well, there's another summit coming up for summer solstice, so and for the listeners that might be interested, the topic is which is rage,
Right.
um, fury as fuel for aligned action,
Mm,
which
yes.
is very much a theme for me at the moment. And so many women are sick of it all, sick of the
Right.
bullshit, sick of the narratives that seem to be getting worse. They're not getting better. So, the response is growing, and more women are just saying, "I really don't have to put up with this, do I?" Um,
Nope.
so when you've got all that anger, which is valid, totally valid, ideally you need something to do with it. And so I'm going to be bringing a whole bunch of different approaches for what to do, how to work with it, rather than to try and stuff it down. Because
Right.
here's the thing with any emotions that you have, if you stuff them down, they will show up in your body. You,
Yes.
you will get a response. It has to go somewhere. It has been created and enacted. It has to go somewhere. So if you're not putting it out there, then you're putting it in there. And that's not good for your health. So
Right.
we're going to be working on some of that. And there's more podcast episodes and what have you
Mm,
too. And Danielle and I are going to be on my podcast. I'm on
mm,
this one. We're showing up in a bunch of places. So
right.
we should put a list together sometime where people can find us in different
Yeah.
settings, right?
Yeah.
Different types of conversation.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention for the listener that's still with us right now that Danielle informed me today this
Oh
is
yes.
number 101 for all of the episodes
Hmm.
in 69 countries and 319 cities, which I think is pretty epic. So, way to go, people listening in from all over the place. Like, that's wild. And Vietnam, where you going? This is
Yeah.
great.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you would think predominantly English speaking or English as a first language, or at least highly English in their language or one of their official languages. I don't know Vietnam, and it's probably Vietnamese, but I don't
Oh
know if
no,
English
there's
is.
plenty there's plenty of English
Yeah.
spoken
Well,
there.
then that could explain that because I mean, because we also
The
got Bangladesh.
Americans the Americans were there,
Yes, that's right.
as you
And there's
recall. So
bases
they
and
definitely, as they always do, they left their mark,
yeah.
without question. And there's a lot of tourism, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Actually, you know what? That's wasn't really on my mind to talk about podcast stuff, but yeah, it's one of those things, right? You can't underestimate where you can show up. Like
Right.
today, I was on a Facebook group, especially for the company I used to host the podcast, and some of them were talking about how they've had increases recently too. And the one guy who started the thread was like, "Well, it's probably bots." But according to the company, anyways, who hosts this, it's not bots that are doing that. This is just legitimate engagement. But
Well, the thing with bots going on
mm,
to people's podcasts is,
right,
I mean, maybe if the listener has an opinion on this one, again,
right.
please let me know. But I can't think of what the benefit would be. What's the point in adding to the numbers on somebody's podcast? Like,
Mm,
it's if you're messing around with like Charlie Kirk and Joe
right,
Rogan and stuff like that, that's a different agenda. But the
right.
stuff we're doing, like, doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me that you'd have bots there. That's
Well, it's funny. I'll
for
get
what?
like because when you're in this podcasting space, right? Not only do you get email for people wanting their whoever they're representing to come on your podcast to get interviewed, but you also get companies who want to do your marketing and stuff like that too. And
Oh
so they'll
yeah.
show you stats with your podcast on it. And I got one recently that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, so there's a tag called Gaffin painting. We're like number three. What shows up when you use that as a tag? And I've never used painting. I just because I put your name.
Gaffin painting?
Yeah, there's like three things, three different tags with Gaffin in it, and we show up like pretty high, like at least in the top five. But if you look at tags for spirituality or tags for awakening, we don't show up at all, which is not true because those are the tags I use in the
How
podcast. But
fascinating.
yeah, so I find it weird that we don't show up for stuff for spiritual awakening, but we show up for painting and all kinds of non-related topics that have the name Gaffin in it.
How bizarre, because the name's not that common.
No,
So
oh, that might be why we
that's,
show up so high.
well, okay, I'm gonna have to look that up and see who's doing Gaffin painting, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get stuff that I will get pictures and comments
Mm.
and what have yous that typically relate to what I used to do, but not what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I always find that interesting. They talk a lot about, oh, well, you're in the health and fitness space. And
Mm.
I'm like, yeah, not so much. You
I
know, like
was. Yeah.
I can be, but it's not
Mm.
my prime focus. Um, but thanks for noticing that old information. And then
Yeah.
they run with it, right? For something modern. And again, this is people not paying attention.
Right.
They haven't understood the assignment with what do you give to AI to do and what do you not? You know, I'm going to start looking for people who would like to advertise, for example,
Right.
on the other podcast. And I'm going to use AI to help me
Mm.
zoom in on what kind of industries might be interested in a witch presenting podcast
Right.
because I don't know off the top of my head. So getting the AI to look for that, I can then investigate the leads that it gives me to see is that true or is it a hallucination? Like, and is it
Right.
really in alignment with me or is it just a like Gaffin painting? You know, it's
Yeah.
just a kind of sort of approximation, but actually not
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
But that's where you use AI. It's like to do the research, the deep research for something, but you still got to check it out for
Yes,
yourself,
you do.
you know?
Because yeah, like I was telling Michaela, like I get guest requests, and one actually quoted the podcast, right? One of the episode of You Ain't Shit, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And I looked it up, and then I looked up the person, and I was like, you did not listen to the podcast,
Right. Because if you had, you would know that you were exactly not the right person for this.
right?
Because I had an interesting look at
Mm.
the profile of said person, and
Mm.
there was a lot of it,
Yeah.
very long, very detailed. And the more I read, the more I thought, well, the disconnect, the cavern, in fact, is getting
Hmm.
wider and wider between what this person is thinking of, and the direction that we tend to
Right.
move in. They are not the same. And I
Right.
can't, like, that's okay, it not being the same, but I can't even see where there's an intersection of questions or
Right.
topics to talk about. Like, it's just not not on the same plane,
Right.
really.
Well, we're looking at a transformation, a
Oh.
transmutation, if you will, perhaps a transfiguration, some alchemy, if you will. So,
Oh, I
so that
don't
we're back
know.
in,
I think the listener should tell us which one it is.
right? And so, a lot of people who want to come on the podcast, where I get those, form letters, it's like you didn't listen to the podcast; you're just advertising yourself. But everyone who's been on the podcast, I'm going to be honest with you, like because this is a channeled podcast, they were invited by the spirits in question who want to channel that episode. So I don't go out looking for people to interview. And so anyone who I've invited know that you were asked by the spirit world, not by me specifically. Not that I didn't want you on, but
It's a few things aligned.
yeah,
Let's put
some
it
things
that way.
aligned and you were thought to be important for the conversation. But free will exists.
Uh-huh.
So
That too is a thing, yeah.
sometimes it's enough that the invitation is out there.
But yeah, it's interesting when you get a pitch from
Hmm.
somebody that's done some very basic AI research, and I'm talking basic superficial
Yeah,
level AI research, find these keywords, and that's close enough. Let's send the thing, like,
yeah,
no, that just makes everybody more jaded.
yeah. Well, that's the thing too, right? Because the energy of the podcast would change if we just brought people on to talk about their books or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, we're not here to showcase people's careers or what
Mm,
have you. It's like if you've got a thing and you want to
mm,
mention it while we're here and it fits in, then sure, but it's not like the purpose. It's an incidental.
yeah,
And sometimes it doesn't even come up. So it's just like it's not the right place to pitch that kind of uh package, if you will.
right. I was going to say we're kind of a show don't tell kind of a podcast.
Well, it's just the purpose is the conversation, right?
Yeah,
It's not the okay, and now we're selling this thing and we're selling that thing. I mean, if you're listening to this, you know we both do coaching. You know
yeah,
that we both have stuff that we can do,
hmm,
and we will both work with you on magical practice
right,
if you're a right fit and so on. But it's not like we're putting it out there as a primary thing. It's just
right.
it's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, it's an assumption on my part, but I kind of
Yeah.
figured that people would get that from listening to us. So,
Well, yeah, because I mean, it's the like if you're listening to us and you think we have something to offer and you want to, we're available. We're just letting you know we're available. We're not saying you have to. We're just making ourselves available for you. Yeah,
there
a lot,
is
a lot of happy wagging tail. There's some wagging tails in the
there is a
background.
massive punch up going on with my.
Yeah,
Oh my God, the dogs are just like they're supposed to be calm. They're not being calm. Anyway,
no, they are. I see all the tails going,
uh, that's
picking
what
up
you
a
get when you have
breeze.
a pack of animals in one house.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I
Yeah,
think the episode's run its course, anyways. We've,
I think it has. The
yeah,
dogs are like, we're not letting you continue. So
but we've done all the get the fuck out of here stuff.
I think so. Now the dogs are saying, "Get the fuck out of here and get my
Yep,
food."
I am enjoying these new titles. I'll be honest with you.
Uh-huh. It's hilarious. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what for the listener, I don't know what Danielle's going to say until he says it. So that's it's cool for me too.
Mm, yeah. All right. So once again, I'm Daniel Dubois.
And I'm Michaela Gaffinstone, and we are your hosts on Journey into the Heart of the Primordial. Wait, what? Are we at the beginning again?
That's what it's
Until
been like.
next time.
Yeah. Till next time. À la prochaine.